So the title of my talk today is Rewrite. Rewrite. And I want to just look at one little section of these lyrics. Staring at the blank page before you. You know what? I'm going to stop at each one, I think. Staring at the blank page before you. Every single one of us has a blank page staring us in the face. That's the truth. You may think you know what's going to happen, but things change, don't they? All of a sudden, out of nowhere, everything shifts. That's okay. But are you willing to live your life from the perspective of having a blank page in front of you? Yes. And just being willing to write it as you go? And perhaps make choices that are different than the choices you thought you were going to make. So, staring at the blank page before you, open up the dirty window. What do you think that dirty window is? Well, I'll tell you, since you asked. So for me, the dirty window is all of the ideas and plans you've made. All the stuff you think you should be doing. All the stuff you thought you should be doing, where you think you should be at this point in your life, or whatever that is. All those preconceived ideas, all the expectations you had for your life, everything that you have put right there in front of you. But behind it is a blank slate for you to choose whatever you want to. To me, that's that dirty window. Just wipe all of that away and be willing to say, today I start anew. Let the sun illuminate the words that you cannot find. There's something right, Catherine? There's something inside of you, a light, this stream of amazing creativity that is just waiting for you to get out of the way and listen to it and let it come up there. That's the light. When we talk about light, we're always talking about creativity. We're always talking about energy. Reaching for something, and I love this, reaching for something in the distance so close you can almost taste it. Release your inhibitions. That's the line that really gets me every time. You all know me as a very inhibited person. But the funny part is, I kind of am. I'm shyer than most people think I am. And you're laughing, but it's true. I am shyer than most people think I am. And I do have inhibitions where I second guess myself, or I don't do something and then I just wish I had done it. Anybody else? You know, you're like, oh my God, I had that opportunity. So last night we had the party and it was so terrific. And I kept thinking to myself, how are we leaving here and going to another party? How are we going to? I'm in bed at 9:30. And so our dear friend, Sarah Paulson, was turning 50, bless you. And so she invited us to this very A-list Hollywood birthday party for her at the Chateau Marmont in a private suite. It was amazing. But I had a really good sense of maybe we stay home. Maybe we go to bed by 10 o'clock. You know, I have a lot to do. I still have to finish this PowerPoint for the annual meeting. We have the annual meeting tomorrow. So much to do. I did not bring any of that up because I already knew the answer. The answer was get dressed, you're going. So
I'm going without you.
Or, yeah. And I even thought about that. Maybe Kevin could go without me. And I thought about that inhibition thing, and I was like, you know, if I let him go without me, if I let him, as if. But if he goes without me and then comes home and tells me who he ran into, I will be like, I could have been in the room where it happened. So we went, and I got dressed in a really sexy outfit that I've never worn, a shirt that Kevin bought me. He buys me these very sexy things that are extraordinarily inappropriate to wear anywhere other than the living room with him. Like the crochet outfit, which I wore at the party last night, so that's good. Well, just the top with a shirt under it. So I put on this really sexy see-through knit black shirt, and it looked great. And I was like, yeah, I can go to this party. I'm good. I put on my gold pants that everybody has seen, except everybody at that party. So we went to the party, and I really hadn't given it much thought. And I was thinking about my talk. Rewriting my life, that we rewrite every day. as we experience. We start rewriting things about our lives. And they open a private, there's all these guards, and they open the private door on the floor that the party's on. And Kevin and I walked in and instantly walked into Jesse Tyler Ferguson, the guy from Modern Family, the redhead from Modern Family, which we watch every night to go to sleep. And he was just really sweet, and he was smiling and said hi, and as if he knew us. He didn't. But I guess everybody figured they knew each other there. So I was like, well, we're starting this off good, because that's a good person to run into. I was very happy. And I'm just going to read you all the people that we ran into. Listen, I'm just going to do a list, just a little list. Of course, Sarah Paulson and Holland Taylor, obviously. Sandra Bullock, Pedro Pascal, Cynthia Erivo, Glenn Close, Laura Linney, Regina King, Ryan Reynolds, Jesse Tyler Ferguson, Jason Bateman, and then all these other faces that we knew but couldn't remember the name, like really big people. So I'm like on my phone, like Googling movies that I think they were in just to see. And we had the most incredible evening. And I got into a great conversation with Glenn Close because after a while in the party, and I will get back to my talk, after a while, I was at the party thinking to myself, this could have been my life. This, in fact, was what I thought my life was going to be. And the juxtaposition of a church Christmas caroling party against a Hollywood A-list party was profound. It really was. Even the outfits I wore were profoundly different. But it was a great night for me, knowing what I was going to talk about today. Because I was like, and I was so comfortable walking around this party. But I had some inhibitions when we first got there. I was like, do we really belong here? I know we're really close with Sarah and Holland, but look at this room. I mean, it's like, and by about 20 minutes in, I'm walking up to people I don't even know, saying hi. I got a great selfie of me and Pedro Pascal. I saw Glenn Close, and I went up to her and I was like, oh my God, you look amazing. And she looked at me, she went, do I? I always wonder. And I said, you're kidding me, you really wonder what you look? She goes, oh my God, coming to these parties, I always wonder, how do I look compared to everybody else? I said, well, I'm here to tell you, you look great. And then I said, you and I started our careers at the same time. And she was like, who are you? Really, she did. And I told her my name. And I said, no, here's why I say this. I said, because when you started your career, do you remember, I'm sure you remember doing the musical Barnum. And she went, oh God, I loved doing Barnum. I said, I was at your final dress rehearsal because of course we have to mention this at every service, I was starring in West Side Story down the street when you were opening in Barnum. And she was like, I saw that production. We just stood there talking. So the good news was Kevin took a picture of me talking to her, so I have that picture too. And then Cynthia Erivo, we just did a whole service based on her amazing performance in Wicked. She came into the party, and I did not really recognize her at first. She was very tiny, and I was like, she looks so lost because the room was like this big and packed. And so I went to her because she was coming close to me. And I said, "Who are you looking for?" She goes, "Well, I'm looking for Sarah." I said, "Okay. Just look up over the heads." And I looked down, I went, okay, I'll look. And so I'm looking I said, she has a little hat on that says 50. And I finally found her, and I said, right over there. And as I'm talking to her, it hits me who she is. Now, I'm not easily starstruck. I mean, I had a great conversation, but I was like, thank God I didn't know who she was when I was trying to help her find somebody. And so she walks away. And I was like, I missed it. I could have gotten a selfie. So about an hour later, and a couple of old fashions later, she's coming down the staircase, and I'm right there, and she says, "Oh, thank you for helping me." I said, "I need a selfie." And she was like, "Great." So she comes over and we do a selfie, and I said, "I'm a really good friend of Stephen Schwartz." Then we have this lovely talk about Stephen Schwartz. It was that kind of night. So why am I telling you all this? Just to name drop. But But Kevin and I, at one point, were sitting on this gorgeous couch looking at this beautiful view of Sunset Boulevard with fog coming over. It was just great. And I said to him, I said, you know, this is reminding me of the other life that I could have lived. This reminds me of when I was in my early 20s and I moved to Hollywood, and I was at those parties with the big A names, and I was on people's lists of up-and-coming young actors. And one thing led to another, and my life went where it went. And that night, last night, when we got home and we were walking the dogs, I said to Kevin, I said, it's very interesting for me thinking about this idea of rewriting my life. Yet I can't go back and rewrite the life I've had, but I can certainly write the life I'm going to have moving forward. I said, and I honestly believe and know, and this is for all of us, that everything that has happened to me in my life has happened for my highest and best. Yes. I probably would have burned out had I gotten Footloose instead of Kevin Bacon. Still won't get over that. But I could have burned out. You know, I know my personality, and I could have burned out. And then Kevin said, and you probably would not have met me.
Any of us.
Or any of you. I wouldn't have known any of you. No, that's not true. No, it is true. But when he said that, you probably wouldn't have met me, I thought, or had my children, or become a father, or lost a child. I would not have lived the life I've lived up to this point. And so this idea of rewriting my life is not about rewriting the past at all. It's about, what do I want to write going forward? And the idea of reborn for me this month has been, what inside me still wants to be birthed? And I have to say, there was a moment last night, I thought to myself, I want to be in this room having contributed to this room, to the entertainment. I want Bells Are Swinging to be a huge hit when it gets to New York. I want to be a part of that world, part of that world. I want to be a part of the world and know who I am, which means never forget this world. And the fact that they can be bridged together so beautifully. There was a moment at the party where we were very crowded, and I think, Kev, you were talking to someone, and I was hitting butts with somebody, and so I turned around to, apologize, or just to see who it was, maybe somebody cute. And the woman turned around and she went, "We keep hitting butts." I said, "I know, but I'm good with it." She said, "Yeah, I'm good." Sandra Bullock. Yeah. Well, I've never been close to I've never seen Sandra Bullock up close, and the face, it was like, and I was like, oh my God, just people at a party. And we tend to think other things, but it's not, it's just people at a party. I was just a person at a party. And that's how I want to rewrite my life going forward. Get rid of all the hyperbole, all of the separation between that and this, and realize wherever you are God. And every person in the room is God too. And then, back to these lyrics, speak the words on your lips, drench yourself in words unspoken. Live your life with arms wide open. Today is where your book begins. Today is where your book begins. The rest is still unwritten. So it's not about what I didn't do so much. It's now about, what do I want to do? And this is a big growth for me over the years, because I have not been at a party like that in a very long time, but whenever I used to go to them, I'd get very sad that I hadn't done what was necessary to really be there, that I didn't create the life I wanted. But you know what? I did. I created the exact life I wanted, with the exact man I wanted to share it with the exact children I wanted to have. Can we all say that? Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Not only can we should, not that I want to should all over you, but we should say that. We should be able to say, I've created the exact life I wanted. What was that quote that she did?
You don't change, you
Well, you don't change, you choose. I chose all of this. You, Lisa Carey, you chose all of this right up to this point. But today is where my new book begins, whatever that is, right? So, Henry Wadsworth Longfellow said this, whatever hath been written shall remain, nor be erased nor written e'er again. The unwritten only still belongs to thee. Take heed and ponder well what that shall be. So what shall it be? What's next? What's that thing? What's that thing that wants to be reborn in you? What wants to come next? I know for me, one of the things I want more than anything else is to have a bigger impact with quantum metaphysics. And I talked about it last night. It was funny. Anybody I mentioned quantum metaphysics to, show business went right out the window. It was way more interesting, quantum metaphysics, than what was their next movie. Because some people did say, so what do you do? And I always like to say, I teach quantum metaphysics. They're like, what? And I say, well, this is what this is. That's what I want. I want to have a huge impact in the world on what quantum metaphysics is, what religion can be, what spirituality and religion can do together, right? And so I wrote this quote, what shall be is what you decide shall be. What shall be in your life is the decisions you're making right here, sitting here right now, right, Jenny? Yes. By the way, we're going to have a performance from Ginny and Cal in the new year because at their big party last week, Cal turned 120. Cal turned 90, and we had a big party, and they got up and sang, and Ginny played the guitar to Abba Dabba Dabba Honeymoon. And she's like this little Debbie Reynolds. Who knew? She's like, abba dabba 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 dabba, and it was like fabulous. He like really worked hard to stay up with her. So they're going to do that on Valentine's Day.
All right.
Yes. With the whole band, though, Robbie. We need the band to play with them. Yes, I won't make you have to do that all by yourself. So, what shall be is what you decide shall be. So I have a question for you. How many people do you think die with their unwritten lives still in them? I'll tell you one thing, Carolyn Clemens didn't. Her life was very well written and continued to be. New ideas every day from that woman. So, do you have things in you that if you're not willing to write it is just going to go? I mean, here's a great quote by Stan Rice. The book unwritten is the book burned. And just think about it. I know it's a little tough to read, right? And I love this one too from J.D. Salinger. I'm up to my ears in unwritten words. Maybe it's time to let them out. Maybe it's time to really let out whatever it is you want to say, Dr. Tiffany. You know, I think we what somebody said, what's that one line? There's so much blood in my mouth from all the tongues I keep biting. You know, the words I don't want to say. You've got to let them all out. You've got to let it all out. And I don't mean at someone. It's not that. But you've got to be willing to do the work to find out what's in there and let it out. And speak your mind and speak your words and write the show you want to write. Write the script you want to write for your life. James Lapine said this. And James Lapine was the writer-director of the Pulitzer Prize-winning musical Sunday in the Park with George, with Stephen Sondheim. And he said this, the one thing you don't want to do is to go off and keep rewriting. And he's talking about fixing this stuff back here. You don't want to do that. If something's not quite right, it's often about modulating what's already there. So just think about that for a minute. So you don't want to spend your life trying to rewrite the past or trying to be okay with the past, understand it, and move on. But everything you need is already right here. It's already right here. It's often about modulating what's already here. You already have everything you need. I already have everything I need. My job is to let it out. And this was great for me too, reading this slide, reading this quote it was really great for me because I am doing the rewrite on Bells Are Swinging right now, which we have a reading coming up, a table read, and then a full reading in La Mirada. And it's been great because I have all these things coming up. And I'm doing this rewrite, and I was like, when I read this quote, I was like, you know what? Maybe it's not that I have to get rid of things or create new things. Maybe it's all right there. I just have to be willing to modulate it, to move it around, to massage it, to love it, as opposed to many directors and writers, they see their work and the first thing they see so glaring is anything they hate about it. What's wrong with it? It's like, how about if I focus on what's right with it and enjoy it and then just massage it? So my last question to you this morning is this. Do you know the story you're living? Because ultimately, whatever you're thinking, whatever decisions you're making, whatever's going on in your life is the story of your life, but do you know it? And are you willing to be unwritten enough with a blank page to write it as you go along? Liza and I just showed you how spontaneity can work. With Donna. No, Thor wasn't spontaneous. Thor's been working on this for weeks. He really did the work on it. But are you willing to be spontaneous enough to write as you go, understanding and knowing the light is right there inside of you? You don't need to find it. You don't need to create it. It's there. Are you willing to spend your life writing from scratch? And then the final question, of course, do you know the story that you're living? If you had to think about it, is the story you're living a comedy? A drama? A horror film? A nightmare? Is it a rom-com? I mean, what's the story you're living? Because whatever it is, you've made the decision. I can tell you my story. I know absolutely. What do you think my story is? Musical. No. Who said musical? Actually, that's not a bad choice. But I think my story is an adventure story. Right? One of those action stories, those action adventure stories. Because I see myself as one of those adventure heroes. Don't you all see that? Clearly up here? I'm not in the right outfit. So I really want you to pay some attention to this. Here we go. We're getting into the end of this year. This is about being reborn, rebirthing that within you that's ready to come out again. Maybe all of us need to come out of the closet one more freaking time. Yes. Even those of you that judge that never came out of the closet. Yes, you did. You came out of the closet as a musician, right? When you made a decision and said, I'm going to be a musician. Everybody. So maybe it's about that. Maybe it's time for us to say, I know my story. I know what I'm doing, I know where I'm going, and I don't have to know how it's all going to unfold, but I know it's good, I know it's great, I know that the creativity inside of me is ready to burst forward and write whatever story is going to catapult me into the life that makes me happier, healthier, more vibrant, more creative, richer, and all of the above. Yes. And so it is. Namaste.